Good morning, afternoon, evening, whatever it is. Thank you so much for dropping by. Mike and Arlen, our Philippine journey. So is the Philippines paradise or is it hell? You know what? More than likely, it's not going to be the answer you want. Let's talk about it.
Why'd you have to go? I guess this world's too slow for you. I think there's beauty in the gray, the cold, but you just want the gold. And there's no way I can beat it, cause I got no chance when it comes to her. She got the glitter and the fame, and I just wasn't enough.
You know something? It's funny sometimes. It's actually not funny. It's just the way it is. The Philippines can be an absolute paradise. It is filled with sweet, nice people. It is a developing country, but it certainly has all the basics plus more. It has beautiful beaches and islands and tourist resorts and things like that. But it can be hell. And it's no shortage of hell. That's the best way I can come up with it. You know, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to go on YouTube and look at all the people talking about their effed up relationships, for them to talk about how they were mistreated, how they got stuff done. And before I say anything, let me tell you something. I fully understand the emotional and mental impact that happens to men when relationships go south, because it's just nature. It's human nature. There's resentment in it. And that is a driving force. Now, look, if you are planning on coming to the Philippines, if you're planning on moving to the Philippines, if you've got that long distance relationship and you want to pursue it, we encourage it. We encourage you to pursue your dreams. All right. That's for sure. But at the same time, most of you will fail. Many of you will fail. The vast majority of the people that are watching this video will either never move here, or if they do, will not last 3 years. And these things are backed up. These statements are backed up just for the fact that the number of annual reports filed by expats, all right, the annual reporting, we have to report, even when I'm a permanent resident, okay, I have a 13A visa, married to a Filipina, permanent resident, I still have to report every year. The number of annual reports, and it's not just Americans, anybody, okay, the number of annual reporting has barely moved over the past 4 to 5 years. So it doesn't matter that there's 1 million people coming over. There's not 1 million people staying. And it's because of the fact that things happen. Look, most of the people watching this are coming from a first world country. They're coming from Australia. They're coming from New Zealand. They're coming from America. They're coming from UK. They're coming from everywhere. And it's not that things are better there. It's not that the way of life is better, or the technical way of life. In other words, going to the store, finding a product, buying a product, doing banking, cell phones, stuff like that. It's not that the process is better, although we could argue it. It is that that's the process you probably grew up with. That's the process that molded you. Like, for instance, I can remember my first cell phone had very little coverage, period. It was a phone in a bag. I mean, it was my first cell phone was business. Okay. And to get any great expectations out of that was a joke. I can remember when internet was a joke, but over the years it evolved and we grew used to it. Well, now you're entering into a different lifestyle here, and you would have to get used to it. Secondarily to that, life here can be absolutely brutal to those of you that don't plan in advance. Okay? And I would take it a step further. Life here can be brutal for those of you that are mentally fragile. If you can't take denial, if you can't take losing out, I mean, again, don't get me wrong. All right. A guy gets into a relationship over the course of a couple of years, that relationship, he pumps, I don't know, 20, 50, 100,000 into it. And then all of a sudden it's over. And here's this woman that you got into a relationship with who had very little, and you pumped a fortune, or what you consider a fortune, into it, and then you found out she cheated, or you found out she lied, or you just simply grew apart. Either way, men tend to be fragile when it comes to that. We've seen this. We've seen all of this. We've seen expat relationships fall apart for the smallest reasons. We've seen them fall apart for the biggest reasons. It can be hell, and you've got to be prepared for that, not just mentally, but then also you need to be prepared financially. You should never, and we've said this back before people were ever saying it seems like, but I'm sure others were. I thought it was a novel statement, but never put money into the Philippines or a relationship in the Philippines that you can't walk away from. Well, you know something? That's about the same as in the U.S. or any other country. Don't put money into stuff you can't just walk away from. The battle that you would go through to recoup it is worse here because you can't, get blood from a rock if they don't have it. But that's a whole different story. My point is that many of you will not plan. Many of you will only come over on a modest income. And there's nothing wrong with that. We encourage it. You can still have a life here, a good life on a modest income. But it's going to depend on how you define it as well. A good life can certainly be had. You can rent a nice place. You can fill your belly. You can have a little extra spending money. Okay? But at the same time, where does that allow you to continue? For instance, if you've never lived on an island, those of you in Hawaii know exactly what I'm talking about. If you've never lived on an island, all right, and you're coming from a first world development, you can't just get in your car and go to a whole nother place. All right. The island is limited. I spent 5 months, I think, in Hawaii, transitioning from Asia to the U.S. as a kid. Okay. I was born in the U.S., raised in Asia, and moved full-time to the U.S. when I was 14. But I did spend 5 months in Hawaii. That's kind of where my parents dropped me with my grandparents while they were putting stuff in order. My point there is that it's limited. The islands here are limited. And while they're expansive, it's a tremendous number, the infrastructure to get around to them. If you don't have the money to travel, that might be a problem for you. You can get island fever. At that point, you're unhappy. It becomes your hell. If you can't, if Arlene and I had to live nonstop and never go anywhere but within driving distance of Angeles City, I would be miserable. I would be absolutely miserable if I didn't have the resources to hop on a plane and go somewhere and do something, which we do quite often. All right? Look, it can be a paradise or it can be your own personal hell. All right? And I'm going to tell you, Satan, he doesn't have a preference. He tortures everybody that screws up here. I encourage you to plan, and I encourage you to come over. We encourage you to look and to review and to do your planning and everything else. But it is something that does take getting some used to. It really does. And as far as dating goes, all I can do is tell you, you have to at least be open to the fact that the rules are different. The culture is different. How you approach that, how you deal with it, it's different. I was very fortunate. Arlene came to the U.S., spent years in the U.S., made a whole, I think a big difference than what else I had to deal with or anybody else would have to deal with. I personally did not find any big transitionary issue myself. I really and truly didn't. But it's going to depend. But if you're going to go poverty picking, if you're going to take your standard down to somebody that you're going to have to babysit all the time, you're just going down the path of finding your way to personal hell. Look, we're not going to be like some bloggers that are going to tell you it's all perfect. It's not. We're not going to be like some bloggers that tell you it's okay, you just have to do this. We're not. We're going to tell you the vast number of guys that watch this are not going to make it here. And the ones that do make it, a large number of those are not going to like it over that 3-year period. And if you're looking to retire, then burning those bridges behind you means that returning is difficult, if not impossible. And if that happens, now you're stuck in hell. We encourage you to come over. We encourage you to develop relationships. We encourage you to enjoy your life, all right? To reach out, to get away from what it is you don't like, to reinvent yourself, whatever you want to call it. But we also encourage you to be very cautious, absolutely cautious. So is the Philippines paradise or is it hell? Excuse me. For those of you that are watching this, and we have great subscribers and viewers, in the comments below, tell us, is the Philippines your personal paradise or was it your personal hell? Could you see yourself, for those of you, I think it'd be interesting to see those of you that have been here, stayed for a long time and said, oh, great to visit, but I could not live there full time. Those comments, or this is what went wrong, or this is why. In the comments below, tell us. Tell everybody what you went through, good or bad, so that in general, everybody can have a decent idea of what may or may not happen. Otherwise, thank you so much. Please do subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and have a great day.